Okay guys, welcome to page 3 of the Honors Unit 1 review packet. Number 22 through 25 use the fact that the measure of angle A is 29 degrees, so 29 degrees. The first question asks for the complement of A. Well, complement means the two angles add to 90 degrees. So if my two angles have to add to 90, angle A is already using 29 of the degrees. If I subtract that, I'll get my complement of angle A. So 90 minus 29 gives us 61 degrees. Supplement means we add to 180, which means I'm starting with 180 degrees. I'm already using 29 for angle A, so the supplement of angle A is going to give us 151 degrees. If angle B and angle A are vertical angles, what is the measure of angle B? Well, if you have vertical angles, that means my two angles are congruent. They have the same measure. So if angle A is 29, angle B will be 29. Then it says if angle B and angle A form a linear pair, what is the measure of angle B? Well, they also add to 180 if it forms a linear pair, and we already know that 151 is going to be that supplement. Because we already did 180 minus 29, that gave us 151. Okay, number 26. Circle all of the following statements that are true. Let's just say given line M below. Number 1 says AB plus CD equals AD. So number 1 says AB, this piece here, plus CD equals the whole thing. Well, that's not true. There's a gap in the middle, so that's no good. Number 2 says AB plus BC is equivalent to the whole thing, AD minus CD. Well, that makes sense. Wait a minute. The whole thing minus CD, that's going to give us the exact same length that we have here from the first half. So this one is true. Let's look at this bottom one. AC minus AB. Here's AC. If we get rid of AB, we're going to be left with just this piece right here. This other side has AD, this whole thing, minus CD. Well, that leaves us with all of this. This isn't true. So just number 2. 27 says, given that ray KH bisects angle GKJ, solve for these angles given this information. So let's draw our picture. Okay, here's GKJ and KH bisects it. You know that GKH right here is 3x plus 16. We know that HKJ is 6x minus 2. And then here's this important word, it bisects. That means that this angle is getting cut in half into two congruent angles. So if these are the same size, we can set our two pieces equal. Now we can solve. So I'm going to subtract 3x on both sides, and I get 16 equals 3x minus 2. I'm going to add 2 to both sides. Gives me 18 equals 3x, and if I divide both sides by 3, I'm going to get x equals 6. But here's the thing, it didn't ask me for x, it asked me for, that should have a little measure sign here, sorry, for the measure of this and the measure of this. GKH is right here. We now know that x is 6. Well, 3 times 6 is 18. 18 plus 16, I believe, is 34. So there's one of our answers. Now we need HKJ. Well, here's HKJ. These should be the same, but let's check by plugging it in. 6 times 6, x is 6, is 36, minus 2 is 34. So it looks like we did it right. Number 28, solve for x and y. Well, there's no y in this picture, so let's cross that off. Solve for x. Well, these two angles together form a linear pair. That means they add up to 180 degrees. So let's plug in what we know. We have 2x plus 18. We have x plus 22. 2x plus x is 3x. 18 plus 22 is 40. That's going to give me 180 over here. We're going to subtract 40 on both sides. That's going to give me 3x equals 140. We have to divide both sides by 3. 3 doesn't go evenly into 140, so let's just leave it as 140 over 3. And if you type that into your calculator, you get something between like 40 and 50. So that gives you an idea of what size x is. Okay, so there's our answer. Number 29, solve for x and y. Well, if we look in this problem, we have x's here and here and a y over here. The easiest way to solve this problem is by ignoring the y right now and just solving for x. Well, those two angles are vertical angles. That means they're congruent. So why don't I mark that? These are vertical angles. They're the same size. That means I can set these two equal. So I have 5x minus 10 equals 3x plus 34. If I subtract 3x on both sides, that's going to give me 2x minus 10 equals 34. I'm going to add 10 to this side and I get 44. I'm going to divide both sides by 2 and I get x equals 22. So we're doing well so far. I'm actually going to plug this value in here to see what this whole angle is. This is actually one of our final answers though. 5 times 22 is 110. 110 minus 10 is just 100. So we know that this angle is 100. This is a vertical angle, so it has to be 100 too. We also know that these two angles form a linear pair. They have to add up to 180. So if this is 100, this is going to have to be 80. And we can now use this information to solve for y. If this angle here is 80, and this angle here is also 3y plus 20, we can solve. So I'm going to subtract 20 on both sides. And I get 60 equals 3y. I divide both sides by 3, and I get y equals 20. Okay, almost done with this page. Solve for the measure of angle B. Is your answer reasonable? Why or why not? Well, based on these markings, we know these angles are congruent, so let's set them equal. We have 4x plus 5 equals 8x plus 35. I'm going to subtract 4x on both sides. So I get 5 equals 4x plus 35. I'm going to subtract 35 on both sides, and I get minus 30 equals 4x. Ooh, this is looking bad. Divide both sides by 4, and I get x equals negative 7.5. Let's think about this for a second. Negative 7.5 isn't necessarily a bad answer for x, because x isn't the size of these angles. So let's actually plug x back in and see what happens. Well, we're going to get 4 times negative 7.5 plus 5. We already know that 4 times negative 7.5 is negative 30. Ooh, we just got that the measure of this angle is negative 25, the measure of angle B. That doesn't make sense because the measure of an angle, at least for our class, can't be negative. So is our answer reasonable? No, our angle measure is negative. Okay, that's the end of page 3. When you're ready, go ahead and move on to page 4.